want you to be like a sponge today and just absorb everything you hear as if God is speaking right to you. Why? Because He is. In fact, the Bible says that God speaks in a still small voice. I'm the voice of God today. So what does a sponge do? It absorbs, it takes it in, and it soaks it up. By the way, I'm Terri Savelle Foy, your cheerleader of dreams, and I need to make a confession. I did the very opposite of what I tell you to do week after week. On July 25th, I was here at my office and I was starting to get hungry. It was almost lunchtime, and my daughter walked in saying how she was craving nachos, and I'm always craving nachos, so we decided to go to Mi Cocina right then. Well, as we were walking out of the offices and going down the staircase outside, my daughter Cassidy said something that sort of shook me up. She said, "Mom, I have already achieved 6 of my top 10 goals for this year." 6, can you believe it? Now, the reason that shook me up is because that very morning, I was looking over my personal dreams and goals, and I always make a vision board, and not one single goal had been accomplished. And here it was almost August, and I'm the cheerleader of dreams, and I had not achieved any of my dreams. So I said to Cassidy, I said, "That is awesome." And I was saying it a little sarcastic. I was proud of her. But since I'm the one who taught her how to set and achieve goals, I was just a little frustrated. But seriously, I was so frustrated that nothing was changing in my life. I had all these big goals I wanted to achieve. I was praying about them daily. Like, what is my problem? Well, the next morning in prayer, I honestly thought, okay, I need to reduce my goals a little because I clearly set them a little too high. I thought, I got a little too ambitious. I just need to scale back a little bit. Like financial goals, house goals, conference goals, all kinds of stuff. Well, right then on July 26th, I clearly heard 7 words from the Lord that I believe are for you today. This is what I heard in prayer. Don't shrink your dream, enlarge your faith. Let me repeat that. Don't shrink your dream, enlarge your faith. Now, I don't know what your dreams are. I don't know what you're believing God for or praying about. It could be, major weight loss, and you are so tired of dealing with those same pounds with nothing changing, or you're believing for healing in your body, or your marriage to be completely restored and it just looks hopeless. I want you to hear these 7 words as if God is speaking directly to you. He said, don't shrink your dream. Enlarge your faith. Here's the thing. The dream is never the problem. It's the dreamer, right? In fact, God said in His Word, be it unto you according to your faith. So if you can believe for it, God can do it. Now, let me remind you real quick that God wouldn't put a dream in your heart if He didn't have every intention of bringing it to pass. But you have to build your faith in God and in yourself to achieve it. Well, when God spoke those 7 words to me, don't shrink your dream, enlarge your faith, He also led me through a 7-step checklist, like an action list, so to speak. And within 30 days, I checked off. Well, I'm going to tell you in just a minute. Hang on. But when I was praying about what to share today, the Lord just told me, teach from experience. So let me just say what a difference 1 month of enlarged faith can produce. Now, I wish I had time to go through all 7 steps, but I'm going to focus on 3 today because they are vital to living your dreams. However, I put the 7 steps in this little book that is so easy to read and just refer to from time to time to sort of keep you on target and going down that list. And today we're going to give this away for your donation of any amount, and I'll explain later how to do that. But let me just start with number 1. First thing the Lord reminded me was dream as big as you can. Just like with the vision board. How far you can see determines how far you can go. And I've heard stories of people, I'm sure you've heard these stories, people like Arnold Schwarzenegger. How when he was a teenager in Austria, he covered his bedroom wall with photos of bodybuilders and wrestlers and boxers and strongmen. And he said he was going to move to America and be the biggest bodybuilder and the greatest actor. Well, his parents thought he was crazy. They even hired a psychiatrist to analyze him to find out what was wrong with him. You know what Arnold said? Be concerned if people don't think you're crazy because you might not be dreaming big enough. Well, I've heard people say the worst day in heaven would be when God gives you a glimpse of all that you could have had, all that you could have done, all that you could have been, but for some reason you didn't believe you could have it. So let me just say, that tug on your heart is there for a reason. God's trying to say to you, step into this. Don't shrink your dream. So here's a couple things, 3 things I want you to remember when it comes to dreaming as big as you can. Number 1 is you must visualize your future. That's what the vision board is, where you just sit quietly with God and you just imagine. Imagine yourself healthy and full of energy. Imagine logging into your bank account and seeing $10,000 in your savings that you don't even need. It's just emergency money. Imagine what would make this year the greatest year you've ever had. See, clarity comes from questions. Ask yourself, if you could live your ultimate life, what does it look like? Where do you live? Where do you work? Who are you supporting? What are you happy that you did? What needs to change in your life? You just visualize your ideal future. Second is you got to write it down. You might even say, Terri, we've heard this before, but have you done it? See, what's easy to do is also easy not to do. And God is the one who said, write the vision and make it plain. Now, personal story real quick is last summer, I did the very opposite of what I tell you to do. I was very vague about some of my dreams. In fact, I was vague about my dream house. I put a photo of lakefront property on my vision board, and we almost closed on a 1-acre lot, which was nice. But in prayer one morning, just before closing, I heard the Lord say this to me. He said, I am not the God of close enough. I'm the God of all that you desire, plus more than enough. Think about that. Then he asked me, what is your ultimate dream? So I started writing down. I've always wanted like a long, windy driveway, tree-covered, private entrance, land to landscape, a house close to the water. Well, once I got clear on what I really wanted, 2 days later, we found our ultimate dreamland, and it was not 1 acre, it was 8 acres, long, windy entrance, tree covered. We can build close to the water. And you ready for this? It cost less than the 1 acre that was close enough to the dream. Isn't that amazing? Don't shrink your dream, enlarge your faith. Be very specific about what you dream, about what you desire. Don't be vague. And don't rush through this. This is your life we're talking about. Now, the third thing with this is you have to keep the vision before your eyes. Make a vision board. They've proven that the number 1 reason goals go unachieved is because they're out of sight. So they say keep your goals out of reach, but never out of sight, right? So number 1, dream as big as you can and apply those 3 tips. Now the second thing the Lord reminded me to do was, got my little megaphone here, is declare what you believe. Declare it, right? This is how you release your faith, is with the words of your mouth. Now, you've probably heard it said, if you want to know where your life is headed, then just listen to the words that are coming out of your mouth. Well, what the Lord spoke to me when he said, declare what you believe, is this is what I heard in prayer. The Lord said, if you're not going to speak faith, don't speak at all. Did you hear me? If you're not going to speak faith, don't speak at all. God's word says that death and life are in the power of the tongue. Well, I read where we speak approximately 16,000 words a day. Now, a lot of people speak a whole lot more. But they said that's the equivalent of like a 60-page book. So every day you speak, you're like filling up a book about this size, a little less. Well, you might even think of your words like scooping up sand with your hands. You're not concerned if some of it just slips through your fingers. Same with your words, right? It's okay if a few words that just aren't positive, they slip out from time to time. It's not a big deal, right? Well, do you know what God said? In Matthew 12, 36 and 37, listen to what he said. He said, every one of your careless words is going to come back to haunt you. He said, there will be a time of reckoning. Words are powerful. Then he said this, take them seriously. Words can be your salvation. Words can also be your damnation. I read that and I'm like, wow, calm down a little bit, right? But you know what? God doesn't waste words. What he says, he means. So, I like illustrations, and I was thinking about when a doctor prescribes a pill, and yes, I found a giant aspirin. But think about this. Most people follow the instructions of the doctor when he says, this pill will heal you. It will take you from sick to healthy. Just follow the instructions. Take the pill. Well, you don't fully understand how it works, how the pill, you swallow it and all of a sudden it makes things go away. But you obey the doctor, right? Well, the great physician said, thou shalt decree a thing and it will be established unto you. So that's a prescription to living your dreams, is you have to speak it out, right? I know, it's a big pill to swallow. But here's the thing. Change what you're saying and you'll change what you're seeing. If you can't speak faith, don't speak at all, right? So talk like you already have what you're praying for. I heard this story recently about a young teenage millionaire. He said, the other day when he found out that his business had just reached $1 million in revenue, his friend said to him, how does it feel to know that you are officially a millionaire? And this young teenager said, exactly like it felt 2 years ago. He said, I just didn't have the money yet. He said, you have to speak the results before you have them. He said, I was a millionaire before I had the money. Well, you have to step into the role before you have the results. If you're not going to speak faith, don't speak at all. So change what you're saying and you will change what you're seeing. So I want to challenge you. I believe God's speaking to you today. Don't shrink your dream. Enlarge your faith. This was not just for me. The Lord told me to teach from experience whatever you're believing God for today. And you have that tendency to say, okay, maybe I was just asking the Lord for something a little too big because nothing's happening. God is saying to you today, do not give up on that dream. And I don't want to draw it out on purpose. I wanted you to have these action steps so you can apply them right now. So this is quick and easy to read. And I want you to enjoy the life God has for you. And you can do that when you put these steps into place. Just imagine everything you set your hands to prospers and succeeds because you increased your faith. Or imagine doors of favor and promotion opening up to you because you took the right steps to increase your faith. Or imagine being given opportunities that you don't even feel qualified for because you chose to enlarge your faith and God honored it. I found out that God responds to our level of faith. So I'm excited for you and I can't wait to hear your testimony. So all you need to do to get your copy sent to you today is call the number on the screen or go to terri.com and we will send you the book for your donation of any amount. So back to our teaching, the third and final point that changes everything is this. Designate a memorable offering. Designate a memorable offering. Now, I got giant money here to illustrate, but I'm only telling you what God told me. Now, many of you have heard me say, the phrase of, you may not have what you need, but you're never without the seed that will produce it. That's something I learned from my dad, Terri Savelle. You may not have, let's say like this, you may not have what you need, but you are never without the seed that will produce it. So this is the tool that breaks the devil's back. So to sum up my own story, when the Lord said to me, don't shrink your dream, enlarge your faith, because every dream on my vision board looked impossible, I did every step in this book as I was led of the Lord. And on July 26, when I got this revelation, it dawned on me that I had not sown a seed for one of my big dreams, which was my Icing Women's Conference. We were taking a big step of faith, renting the Toyota Music Factory, and just trusting God. Well, I hadn't sown a seed for it, and I sow seed for every dream I have. So I told my CEO right then, I said, we got to send a check to someone else who's having a conference. So we did. We got it in the ground right then. But to be honest, it wasn't memorable. It didn't affect us at all. It was basically forgettable. In fact, I don't even remember what we gave. But it's still seed in the ground, right? Well, when you're believing for a breakthrough, you need to sow a breakthrough seed. If you want a small change, sow a small seed. You want significant change, sow a significant seed, right? Well, like I said, not one single goal for the year had been achieved up until August 1st. And I was just about to scale back a little bit, reduce my goals right then. And that's when I decided to obey what the Lord said. Dream as big as I could. Leave those very same goals on my vision board. Number 2, start declaring what I believe. Remember, the Lord said, if you can't speak faith, don't speak at all. I even told my whole team at the office that we are only speaking faith over these goals. And a few other steps that I put in the book that the Lord led us through. But this one changed everything. Designate a memorable offering. Now, memorable to me just means you don't forget, right? Well, you get your dream in motion. Well, to tell you the story, I was scheduled to speak in Tampa for a lady who was just starting her own business success conference. So I flew to Tampa, and when I got there to speak Friday night, there weren't hardly any people in attendance, at all. It was very, very small. And the host was so embarrassed because a lot more people registered online, they just didn't show up. So I told her backstage, I said, I could care less about the size of the crowd. I said, let's just believe we have the right message for the right people, and they're here tonight, and God is going to speak to them. So she felt better, Well, the next morning, I was getting ready to speak for my final session and then fly home to Dallas. Well, while I was getting dressed at the hotel, I just heard the Lord say, sow this conference into her. And I thought, okay, Lord. I said, well, do you want me to do this publicly or privately? Because normally I would never do that in public. But I just felt like I needed to ask the Lord. And I heard him say, publicly. And I thought, that's very odd. But I went to the conference, I shared my final session, and at the end, I told her, I said, this is in front of everybody. I said, normally I would not do this in front of people, but the Lord told me, so I'm just going to obey. I said, I want to sow this conference back into you. I said, whatever the expenses were, we want to sow it right back into you. Well, she just starts crying so hard on the front row. She came up, she took the mic, and she told the crowd, she said, you have no idea what this means to me. She said, what Terri doesn't know is that I used my child's school tuition money to bring her here to put on the conference, and she had no idea. And she was just bawling. Well, I got in the car, headed to the airport, and it just dawned on me. That was memorable. So I was just praising God because I knew things were about to change. Well, then we're heading to the airport, and the lady that was driving me, I didn't know her, but she's telling me her story and how she had just sold her house and she's getting ready to move. All of a sudden it dawned on me, one of my big dreams this year is to sell my house, and we have not had one offer on the house. So I thought, I'm going to sow into her because she just sold her house. So I had this cash in my purse that someone had blessed me with a couple months ago. I had it still in my purse, and I kept thinking, when I get a day off, I am going to the mall and I'm going shopping. Well, I dug in my purse, and I thought, I'm going to give her some of that cash. So I pulled some of it out, and I heard the Lord say, give it all. And as I'm reaching in there, I thought, define all. And then I just grabbed all the cash. I knew, obey God. I grabbed all of it. I gave it to her. I said, I want to sow this into you because I am believing God for my house to sell. Now, let me just tell you, that was memorable, right? I'm not going to forget that. Well, here I am telling you about it. Well, I got home and my first thought was, I want to keep the streak going. I looked at my top 10 goals and I just started giving for every single one of them, like significant seed. Make it memorable. Think about it. I'm gonna remember the lady in Tampa. I'm gonna remember the girl at the airport. So I sat down and I made out 10 checks, one for each of my dreams. Now I'm not gonna forget that because I never write checks anymore. Plus it was my best seed. And then I heard the Lord say, today, get it in the ground today, because delayed obedience is still disobedience. And that just came up in me. Well, my daughter Cassidy came home for lunch that day, and I'd made out the 10 checks. I wrote 10 little cards for each one, put their addresses on it, and I handed it to Cassidy, and I said, would you please drop these in the mail today? Well, let me just tell you, are you ready for this? Can you imagine what happened as soon as Cassidy left, dropped the checks in the mail? Are you ready to hear what happened? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Like nothing changed in the natural. But I'm smarter than that. I started acting like the people on The Price is Right. You know when they announce you're the next contestant on The Price is Right? Those ladies are jumping and bouncing and shouting. They haven't even won anything. But they sure act like they have, right? I started running around my den, acting like a nut, just praising God, worshiping Him, thanking Him as if my breakthroughs had just happened. And I'm telling you, the devil tried to make me think I was stupid, I was ridiculous by giving so much. I mean, I just emptied out my purse. I gave a ton of money away. I just paid for someone else's conference when I have a conference coming up. Nothing was changing. But I just kept walking around my house just shouting and thanking God. Well, then I heard this in prayer. I grabbed my little notebook, and of course I wrote this in here because it was so powerful to me. But this is what came up in my spirit, and I want you to hang on to this. The Lord said to me, the moment the seed left your hand, I released what's in mine. Did you hear that? The moment the seed left your hand, I released what's in mine. Can I just tell you what a difference 1 month of enlarged faith will produce? That month of August, remember up until August, nothing had happened. The month of August, I received the largest financial breakthrough I have ever had in my life, and it was in the month of August. Another dream that I have had for years, which was to have Les Brown speak at my conference, it was confirmed on August 9th. 8 of my 10 goals were achieved in record time. 8! And that month of August, our ministry received the largest offering we had ever received in 11 years at the Icing Women's Conference. I don't think that's coincidental, do you? And I might add, the final 2 of my 10 goals were achieved by January. I wake up every day going, what's going to happen now? So I am telling you today, this is a word from the Lord for you. God is telling you, don't shrink your dream, enlarge your faith. You know, do you feel like God is speaking directly to you? Maybe you feel like I did. Nothing's changing. I haven't achieved my goals. My prayers haven't been answered. Well, the Lord told me to share exactly with you what He taught me. Dream as big as you can. Don't even think about scaling back. Declare what you believe. If you can't speak faith, don't speak at all. Number 3, designate a memorable offering. And the moment the seed leaves your hand, God releases what's in His hand. So I want you to have this little book I just wrote with the 7 action steps the Lord led me and my team through. And I'm telling you, it impacted us so much that I thought I've got to get this in writing. And like I said, I didn't want it to be a big, long, drawn-out book. You can read this so fast, get those 7 points, and start applying them in your life. So this just arrived, and I want to send this book to you with your gift of any amount. Here's what I would recommend. Make it memorable. Give something that you won't forget. And I'm telling you from experience, you will see supernatural multiplication before your eyes. You know, God is telling you today, don't shrink your dream, enlarge your faith. So I want you to have this vital message quickly so you can apply these tips as soon as possible. So all you have to do is call the number on the screen or go to terri.com and we will send this out immediately. And again, make your seed memorable. What's memorable to you may not be memorable to someone else. So it's up to you to hear from God, Lord, what is a memorable seed for me? You'll know, trust me. So act now, enjoy this special offer that we are giving away for a donation of any amount. It's easy to order. Like I said, you can call the number on the screen or go online to terri.com and we will send it to you. So let me close out by reminding you, I always say, don't look at the years you've lost. Let's look at the years you've got left and live your dreams. And whatever that dream is that God has put in your heart, it's there for a reason. God is telling you today, He's for you, He's not against you. What's impossible with man is possible with God. You just got to increase your faith. And you know what? You just did. Faith comes by hearing and hearing by the Word of God. So I believe your faith is stronger today than it was yesterday. Now just do what God said to do. Speak faith and sow seed for your breakthrough. Hey, and don't forget, I am cheering you on to live your dreams. We're here for you. We're believing with you. You can do it.
What do you do when your dreams are delayed or look like they'll never happen? You can shrink your dreams down to a level you can accomplish in your own power, or you can build your faith to a greater level and experience God's supernatural power to achieve them. In Don't Shrink Your Dream, Enlarge Your Faith, Terri Savelle Foy walks with you through 7 powerful and practical keys that will shift your identity, remove the limitations, and enlarge your faith to receive from God. It's time to break through the barriers that have held you back for far too long so you can reach your goals and fulfill your purpose. For a limited time, Terri would like to send you a copy of this life-changing book as a thank you for your gift today. So don't delay. Go to terri.com or call 800-795-5597 to sow your memorable seed and request your copy. Now's not the time to reduce what you're believing for. With God's help, you can achieve every dream He's put in your heart. Go now to terri.com or call 800-795-5597.
Make plans now to be a part of the 2023 Faith Building event with Terri Savelle Foy, along with Bill Winston, Lisa Osteen Combs, Brett Price Jr., Richard Roberts, Pat Harrison, and George and Terry Pearsons. It's a day dedicated to build your faith for the big dreams God's given you, especially if you're believing for breakthroughs with houses, land, properties, or to be debt-free. And when you register for this free live stream event, be sure to send in your faith-building prayer requests and your seed to be prayed over in the live studio. It's all happening Tuesday, November 14th. Register today at terri.com and join us for this free, one-of-a-kind virtual faith-building event. This special day is more than just inspiration. It's about transformation. You'll receive biblical insights and practical steps to take your faith to the next level. Remember, your faith can move mountains. See you on November 14th.